The smell of his garments do not call it of his garments, but of his traitors. For even the traitors among them have a smell to them. We should understand the words of Ra. Sir, what is the connection between garments and traitors? Garments are clothes that a person wears, meaning there's a connection between the clothes and the person is a good thing that the person has. Clothes, but traitors are the complete opposite sense. When one person betrays another, it is a bad thing for that person. In other words, person feels so bad in his situation that he wants to come out of that state, and he has no other choice but to betray the person who put him in the bad state he's in. Therefore, how come Arabi said explains about that garments means traitors. It is known that the order of the work is that a person should correct himself and enter cause holiness, since man was born with the evil inclination which comes to a person, and as soon as he's born it is with him. The Zohar says about it, and when one comes into the world, the evil inclination immediately appears to partake with him, as it is written, sin crouches at the door, for then the evil inclination partakes with him. Says there, and old and foolish king is the evil inclination. From the day he was born he never parted from his impurity, and he's a fool because all his ways are toward the evil way, and he walks and incites and laws people. Is known that the order of the work divides into the work of the general public, meaning what the general public can do, and the work of the individual. The general public cannot do. This is expressed by the words for our sake and not for her sake. In other words, the work of bestow pertains specifically to individuals' work that is in order to receive reward is work that the general public can do as well as my says about it. Therefore, when teaching little ones, women and uneducated people, they are taught to work only out of fear and in order to receive reward until they gain much knowledge and acquire much wisdom. They that secret little by little. Therefore, when a person wants to walk on the path of individuals, to do everything in order to bestow the evil inclination called the will to receive, which is concerned with its own benefit, can work only in order to receive reward. When a person wants to work for the sake of the Creator, the evil inclination object to his work, since it conflicts with the nature with which he was born. And here begins man's work with a hard battle, since the person tells his body, when the body asks him why, he observes, and what will you get out of a person then tells him that our sages said, the Creator said, I've created the evil inclination, I've created the Torah as a SB. Therefore, since I haven't the power to annul you by engaging into, I will have the strength to annul you and remove you from your kinship over me, as it is written, you are an old and foolish king. Therefore, I want to remove you from your governance, that you govern me, and take upon myself the governance of the King of all kings, the Creator. What should the evil inclination called the will to receive for oneself do? It has no other choice but to interrupt with all its might. Norm. A person does not make efforts to obtain something if he can obtain it easily. Therefore, when a person begins to work and makes little efforts to emerge from its dominance, the body does not need to resist a person with all its might. Rather, the evil in the person emerges gradually with greater force each time, depending on man's work. Other words, the order of the work is balanced so that one will have a choice to elect the good and reject the bad. This is as our sages said, one should always see oneself as half guilty, half innocent. If he performs one mitzvah, happy is he, for he has sentenced himself to the side of merit. The reason one should see oneself as half guilty and half innocent is so as to have a choice. If one thing is more than the other, he can no longer make the decision. Therefore, if a person performs one mitzvah, he is already sentenced to one side of merit, so how can he make a choice once more, since the sight of merit has already prevailed? The answer is that if the bad in a person sees that the person has overcome it the evil uses greater force, meaning brings him just arguments why it is not worthwhile to work for the sake of the Creator, and it makes one taste the taste the dust when he wants to do something to bestow, and gives him a greater flavour in work for self benefits. In other words, each time he gives him a greater pleasure in self benefit. In other words, he never thought that there is so much pleasure in self benefit, since when he makes more efforts he senses to the side of merit, he must give him more evil in order to be able to choose. That is, it does not mean that he gives him more bad deeds, rather it means that he gives him greater pleasure in self-benefit, to the point that it is difficult for him to retire from self-benefit and work in order to bestow. This is regarded as a person suffering great descent. That is when the evil appears to him with greater force, and it is difficult to overcome it. The person sometimes comes to a state of pondering the beginning, meaning that he sees that he has laboured and toiled in vain, since in fact it is impossible to emerge from the governance of evil. It is a shame that I exerted for nothing follows, but during the descent he betrays the work of the Creator. Afterwards, when the Creator sends him an awakening from above, he ascends to spirituality once more and thinks that now he will be in the state. However, afterwards the evil appears within him once again and with greater force, and he suffers another descent just as before, and each time he thinks the same, meaning that each time he falls into betrayal in the work, it follows that he who is greater than his friend, his inclination is greater than him, since otherwise there would be no choice. It follows that one who is greater has more betrayals in the work, whereas one who does not have the strength to overcome the evil does not need to show its full strength. The question is if he has committed a transgression. Woe unto him, for he has sentenced himself to the side of fault. Since he has already decided so, how can he later make a choice? The answer is, as our sages said, transgressed and repeated, it becomes as though permitted to him words. He does not feel the power of the evil that there is in the transgression, and naturally he does not need excessive overcoming. Rather, with a small overcoming he can choose the good, and lo, the little bit of evil that is in Hindley. One who is great, that person has many ups and downs. That is often he betrays the work of bestow, as the complaint of the spies who slandered the land of Israel, which is the kingdom of heaven. In other words, he taken upon himself the kingdom would not be for his own sake called our land, but because of the Shamim. Heavens, put differently, one person wants to take upon himself the burden of the in order to bring contentment to his Maker. So the spies slandered it as it is Britain in the Zor, and they returned from touring the land. They returned means that they returned to the bad side, returned from the path of truth, saying, what did we get out of it? To this day we have not seen good in the world. We've toiled in tar, and the house is empty. Who will be awarded that world? Who will come and be in it? Would have been better had we not toil. So we learned in order to know the part of that world. That upper world is good, as we know in the tar, but who can be rewarded with it? You should understand the argument of the spies. After all, they said what they felt. When a person is in a descent, he does not lie. He says what he feels during the ascent. He wants to and before him as a candle before a torch, since he feels that he will be happy from this. Conversely, during a descent he sees that all that the will to receive argues is correct. Thus why does the verse say, as it is written, and they slandered the land? According to what Ban says, the answer is that they had to believe that since the Creator promised to the people of Israel that he would give them the land of Israel, which is a land flowing with milk and honey, the Creator will certainly give them. But the situation that they saw was that they had to believe that this revelation of the bad came to them from above, meaning the revelation of the evil that exists in man by nature, and that one is unable to emerge from the governance of the evil and be rewarded with the teaching with the Creator. Rather is only the Creator himself, and they had to believe that the Creator would give them a second nature, which is the desire to bestow, and by this they will receive all the delight and pleasure called a land flowing with milk and honey. When they have the vessels of bestowal, the restriction concealment are lifted from them, and they are rewarded with the delight and pleasure that were in the purpose of creation. At that time it is a land flowing with milk and honey. It follows that these descents are required in order to reveal the evil, so that afterward they will know that only the Creator can help, and his help comes specifically on a complete L, for then the complete help can come. This means that if the evil were not completely exposed, there would not be a complete lack. Hence first we must see that evil is revealed. Subsequently, the thing called help from the Creator comes and fills his lack. This follows the rule: there is no light without a CLE. We could ask, why must we wait so long? That is, there are many ascents and many descents, but the bad could have appeared once. The answer is that if the bad were revealed in full, no one will be able to begin the work. Bad prevail, and there would be no room for choice. Hence the bad appears according to the level of the good that a person increased in the work. According to the above, we should interpret what we asked. What does it mean? That Rabbi Zer interprets the verse, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and blessed him. Do not call it Gav his garments, but Bath his traitors, for even the traitors among them have a smell to them. We should interpret that since Jacob was rewarded with wholeness, meaning that from all the descents he achieved wholeness, so that the help from above could come. Since all the bad has been revealed in him, it follows that the descents which are the betrayals are called sins. Light appears through them. We now see that the sins have become as merits, that were it not for their descent, we would not be able to achieve wholeness. This is why Arabizer interprets that the smell of his garments was because he achieved his completion, meaning that the betrayals were also corrected. Follows, but the betrayals were as frequent as the merit sins. Everything was corrected in him. This is why he says the smell of his traitors. Therefore, when a person is in a state of ascent, he must learn from his state during the descent in order to know the difference between light and darkness. As it is written, the advantage of the light from within the darkness. However, for the most part, if a person does not want to remember the time of darkness because it pains him, and people do not want to suffer for no reason, rather a person wants to enjoy the state of ascent that he is in. However, one must know that if he considers the descent while he's in an ascent, he will learn two things from this which will benefit him, and he will therefore not suffer from descent. For no reason he must know how to keep himself as much as he can from falling into a descent. Too, as the advantage of the light from within the darkness, at that time he will have more vitality and joy from the state of ascent, and you will be able to thank the Creator for bringing him closer to him. How it is now a person has a good feeling from being in a state where he understands that it is worthwhile to be a servant of the Creator, since now he feels the greatness and importance of the King. But during the descent it is the complete opposite. Body asks him, what will you get out of wanting to anal before him and cancel yourself from this entire world and care only about how to bring contentment to the Creator? When a person considers both extremes, he sees the differences between them. That time he has the values of a different importance than he thought about the ascent. It follows that by looking at the ascent rises in him to a higher level than he feels without looking at the descent. It follows that when he thinks about the time of betrayals that he had during the descent, all the descents are sweetened and filled with the blessing of the Creator as their causing and ascent. Hence, when a person completes the work, everything is corrected into merit. This is the meaning of what he says, and he said, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. This means that then the smell of my son's betrayals is as the smell of Mal, who is called the field that the Lord has blessed. That is, he already received all that bestows of delight and pleasure from the Creator. Accordingly, we should interpret the words, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated from your abdomen. 1 nation shall be stronger than the other. Rashi interprets 2 nations as there is no nation, but will be separated, one to his wickedness, and one to his wholeness. 1 nation shall be stronger than the other. They will not be the same in greatness when one rises one. And we should understand what the Rashi interpretation adds to us here. The writing brings the order of the work, what we want to achieve. Adhesion with the Creator. He says nation as there is no nation, but that the person must know that there are 2 the sermons in one, and old and foolish king to the king of all kings. Evil inclination belongs to the old and foolish king. There's also the good inclination in him, which pertains to the king of all kings. Therefore he says will be separated, one to his wicked, and one to his wholeness, and 1 nation shall be stronger than the other. There will not be the same in greatness, rather when one rises the other one falls. This pertains to ascents and descent, or each wants to overcome the other, meaning that specifically by quarreling each one grows, as was said. Oh, who is greater than his friend? His inclination is greater than him. This is called 1 nation shall be stronger than the other, meaning that both grow, and each one grows through the other. On the other hand, in other words, the descent, which is the old and foolish king, his power grows through the ascents of the good inclinations. It is our sages said, the righteous, the evil inclination seems like a high mountain, since he has many ascents, which in plural form is called righteous. That is in the work when speaking of one person, that he is a small world. There are many righteous in a person, meaning many ascents, and they come by overcoming the wicked. Concerning many wicked in one person, this is called many descents, since in each descent he becomes wicked. It follows that each one grows through the other, and this is the meaning of 1 nation should be stronger than the other. Conversely, those who do not walk on the path toward achieving adhesion with the Creator, which is to obtain the desire to bestow, called wicked, and that they are not walking on a path where they will be able to do everything for the sake of the Creator, but rather for their own sake. Here wicked is a different discernment, a completely different interpretation. That is, there are no righteous there in the middle, but all their actions are as wicked, meaning not for the sake of the Creator, but for their own sake. In the work they are called wicked, but to the general public who observe they are called righteous, and they are called wicked only in terms of the intention, in terms of the work, to work only for the sake of the Creator and not for their own sake. And since they do not have a quality of righteous in between, their evil does not receive an addition, for only if there is a righteous in between, meaning and assent when he wants to work only in order to bestow, then the bad must receive more bad, so as to be able to lower him from his degree. Hence to the wicked the evil seems like hair's breadth, and the bad does not grow in them. Instead, transgressed and repeated, it becomes as though permitted to him. In other words, he has no sensation of the evil, and this is as our sages said, and 1 nation shall be stronger than the other. As Rashi interpreted, they will not be the same in greatness. When one rises, the other falls, but how come when he rises he then falls? Each time someone else receives an addition. Once the good receives an ascent from above, and the bad fs, and when the bad receives bad from above, the good floats. This is the order of descent and descent, until all evil within men is revealed specifically by a person receiving good each time, which is called sense. This is the meaning of 1 nation will be stronger than the other. Hence a person should not be alarmed by their descent. Instead, he should ask the Creator each time to bring him closer to him. According to the above, we should interpret, thus far your kindness has assisted us, and your mercies have not left us. The Lord our God, ask, in which state is he in Now what was his state, before of which he comes to say something new, as though now he is in a state of delight and pleasure, and it seems as though he was not in a good state, but was in a state where he was not happy, and now he has come to realize that thus what we felt have been help from above, from the side of I, although he did not feel them as mercy. Now he sees that then, too, his feelings which we felt as bad were also from the side of kindness, and your mercies have not left us, meaning that then too providence was from the side of mercy and not from the side of judgment. We should understand how this is so, meaning to say that the bad state was also mercy. The thing is that there is no light without a cle. A person cannot be given something if he has no need for it. It is like a person who cannot eat if he is not hungry. Therefore, when a person begins to walk on the path of the Creator to achieve attention with the Creator, he cannot receive help from the Creator, because normally a person does not ask for help from someone unless he cannot obtain that thing by himself. Therefore, when one thinks that he can come to work in order to bestow alone, he does not ask the Creator to help him. When one begins to work for the sake of the Creator and sees each time that he is incapable of achieving the degree of work in order to bestow, he becomes needy of the Creator's help. It follows that all the descents he had, to the point that sometimes he despaired and came to pondering the beginnings and wanted to escape the campaign. Certainly these states are called bad states, and he was in a state of wicked, but afterwards, when he satiated the lack of the cle, when he saw that the cle was full of lax, the Creator gives him help, which is the desire to bestow a second nature. At that time he sees that thus far the many dissents he felt and thought that the person, that the reason was that he was unsuitable for it, and this is why he suffered the dissent. Now he sees that thus far it was also a help from the Creator. This the meaning of thus far. Your kindness has assisted us, it was all mercy, as it is written, and your mercies did not leave us. Thank you. Mott and questions. Yes, what is it when he says that dissents are needed in order to reveal the evil? They will know later that only the Creator can help them, and his help comes specifically for a whole deficiency, and then it can come to complete help. Why or how come the help only comes on a whole deficiency from each and every state from which we need to get closer to the purpose of creation? We get closer to wholeness. The wholeness means that it includes the good and the bad, all of the actions and all of the states that a person has gone through, and we receive all of it together. That the Creator created everything and arranged everything so that we are capable of understanding and attaining and feeling and justifying him from contradicting states. This is why we have nothing else to do but only to continue and continue and continue on the same way. So he continues and says, by looking at the ascent rises to a more exalted level, and it's true miracle. How does that happen? First of all, where does he take the power during the ascent to look specifically from the state of ascent? He receives the powers, and then he can look at the descent and realize how much he lacks additional corrections, changes. Look at those states that the spies showed him when he was in a descent. Those are the states is not correcting during the ascent. Well, let's say so, even though it's not quite so, it seems to us that we correct certain states that maybe we ourselves even caused them. However, this is how it appears to a person. It turns out that the sense he gets on the path, opportunities to during the ascent make a choice, they balance them out. Yes, have to truly be grateful for them. Have this general view of things. Yes, we should bless for both of them. Anyone else? 10. General question. So while reading, I felt my desire wanted to take me from here. Today I used a few of the answers that Rush gave in his other articles. The question is, Rush write those articles with a certain order, or in truth is no order per, let's say, we reveal something here, we use it. And there are other discernments that appear later, so the question Rush wrote it in a certain order. He felt this process of course. We also look at the articles in the order in which they were written while we studied them, but in our mind it all connects into one article. There's no criticism. I don't mean it as criticism, but we later on feel all the articles as a single article. Yes. Job can. He writes that's why when a person begins to work and he sees that it's not within his each time he's incapable of achieving the degree of work in order to bestow, it becomes need of the Creator's help. The point that each time you have to reach the need for help from the Creator. What is the benefit here? What's the correction here? When you turn to the Creator, what's in it? There is a grip on the upper force that he and only he can save the person. What is the device when a person is in a state where he feels a descent and he can't come to this vessel called request help from the Creator, so he needs to continue, and then over time bad force and the good force, despair and fatigue and also nearing as a result of the requests. All of these things, they come together and join into a state where he is capable of turning correctly. And there's this approach here in this article where he writes a person should not be impressed by the descent, but he needs to ask each time of the Creator to bring him closer to him. On the one hand, should panic is a result of the descent. More serious, even killed approach. On the other hand, you ran for help to the Creator. How do you combine these two things? There are seemingly two approaches. That's how it feels to me. On the one hand, person should not be over impressed by the descent. It shouldn't panic as a result. That's right. The other hand, he should run to the Creator and ask for help. Yes. It is the one they raise each other. Yes. But without feeling that he must get help, he cannot turn to the Creator. The help must be truly so that this is the only thing he wants from the bottom of his heart, and therefore he goes and connects all of these states until he reaches a true desire. There's a state every moment. As we give this example child, each second he can run to his mummy and ask. Yes, there's such a point. Every little thing for which he runs to ask for help, maybe that blemishes the value of actual help from the Creator. Can you overuse? It depends on the nature of the character of a person. There are people like in this world you can see the person holds himself and you can't see anything on the outside, even though you know he's going through great suffering. And there are those who cry out help us, and there's really nothing about this. Is my question, does the person need to wait for his request to serious and needed instead of running to the Creator for every little thing every second? That person should see that on the way along the way he feels how the Creator is turning to him or not. He does this, he does that. He begins to feel his work with the Creator. Then he doesn't have a question about what should he do. Okay. No. He say that during an ascent a person has to remember the descent. Elsewhere we read to that we need to be like an old person looking for something he lost, meaning a person is never in an ascent and clean way, but he should be always be careful and think that he's about to fall loose. It's like he's tarnishing his ascent. Yes, so there is no pure ascent or person can just know it here fully, and that's it. You have to constantly look. Yes, how can it be? He has to constantly reveal that he has a deficiency for attention with the upper force. It's more fear than deficiency. On the small degrees it is fear, yes, but on the great degrees it's no longer fear but rather a necessity. Zed. Thank you to all those who are choosing the study material. There's a flow here. This process builds us brick by brick. In this work question here several times he writes should have believed that the Creator gave them. They were in a sense slandering the land. Then they should have believed that the Creator would give him a second nature. What is The meaning of they should have believed. What is this concept of should have believed? Well, of course, it comes from above. Many times the person did not describe it to the creator or incident, and now in one of those states he begins to discover that, of course, it comes from a certain source, from a certain desire, and he has to respond to it in a certain way, and the mutual work begins between him and the creator, saying that they had to believe. It is like the result of like a rock that's getting worn out each time, many times. Yes, see, can you say that it come absent-mindedly? I don't think it's inadvertently. I actually think it's a result of an effort by the person and a certain revelation on the side of the creator. Yes, true, many efforts. But when it comes as a result. It's not something a person does, it's a result of the experience and these wearing out, yes, that the creator has taken him from many states, and in these states the person receives a certain impression, and altogether he gains experience. And then he makes up his mind what he truly needs. He said they had to believe, meaning he should continue, until he reaches faith. Yes, there are two states where a person can come out of the descent somehow. One he writes about here, and that is when the creator gives him the ascent, and the other thing that I noticed is we have our order of things. I'm doing something that I notice that I was in a descent before, that then I seemingly come out of this descent. Any one of those things considered on the account of a person, again, that the person did it or the creator took him out. No, nothing really pertains to the person. The creator simply takes him for all of these states, ascents and descents and false forgetfulness, whatever you have. And in the end the person discovers all of his emotions, and he gains experience, and he's already willing to relate to the states that he's going through each time in a way that is more and more seems as if it's the sense. In the sense, it's not about that, but it's about whether or not I'm capable of entering adhesion or trying to be in adhesion with the creator and pray to him. That's the story. You're sensing that the sense, or I don't know, like the foundation, so that a person would eventually make contact with the creator, and that's what it's about, right? Yes, thank you. Both yesterday and today in the Arctic, Rash says, on the one hand you acquire vessel when you have, when you're conscious about it, awareness of the state that the descent, you don't forget about it. It's like a property, a possession you can work with. As you said, you acquire experience. Awareness, on the other hand, we need to have faith. Also in the past articles we learned, it says a person has to feel himself as nothing, zero. He depends on the creator 100%. He has no foundation whatsoever. How to reconcile these two things? Whatever the mind, the intellect doesn't do, time does. And during the exercises that the other creator sends to the person starts to see how much these things start to come together, and they bring him to a state where he can understand what is happening with him, and to what state they want to promote him. The person starts to understand all of that. This understanding should be there, but it's the foundation. Well, yes, of course, the most important is not the understanding. The most important is the feeling. What is the indication that now I'm in an ascent, and I can start to remember where descent? First of all, you remember about it. You remember the descent, you recall the descent, and you're able to understand the state you in before and the state you're coming to now. In order to start it, he says that you can only do this action when you are in an ascent, right? Yes, how do I make sure that now in ascent are just happy about I don't know what the 1,000 reasons to have a good mood? How do I know it's art of ascent? The state of ascent means that you are willing to remain in it and to continue it, because by that you're giving contentment to the creator. I'll think about it. Thanks. No, thank you very much, Rob. He starts the article that a person should see that he's half innocent before a person reaches the correction of to be. Oh, how can he see that he's half innocent? Half innocent means that there's nothing that there's nothing that gives him this foundation, and he feels that he has nowhere to glue himself to, so he gives examples where a person should see that he's half wicked, half righteous. How can a person sees that he's half righteous, that half wicked? That I understand in what, but in what can a person see that he's half righteous before he reached the correction? Also, what is this righteous if he's not going to go through these states? How will he determine he's wicked? Well, wicked because you check yourself according to your thoughts and intentions, and you see that you're not capable of being in order to bestow. You can't love the friends you see that whatever he sees himself as wicked, they're in the same state. He can see that he is righteous. He's righteous in what he justifies the Creator to some extent. He performs certain actions of all that he can see that he's half innocent. Those are degrees also. If a person performs one mitzvah, when persons say that he has performed even one commandment, one mitzvah means the mitzvah of faith. Person comes to it, he sees that he truly did this great correction. He also writes that he must give him greater evil so that he will have a choice. So, yes, what is that connection between choice and evil? As much if there is good and evil in a person, one against the other, a person can see his true state, and when he writes that he betrays the work of the Creator, what is the correct relation for a person who sees his state that he is betraying the work of the Creator? How should he relate to it? Well, he has to correct himself. What can he do? He has to correct himself, become righteous. Respect to the spies, he says that the spies said what they felt. So person can never look at the feeling itself. No, from the side of the feeling he will never receive both in the feeling and in the intellect any correct results. So what is the foundation, the basis that he can use other than his emotions, his feelings? What can he look at so that then check himself his way? His attitude is connections with the 10, with the group, with the half. If his feelings are not a correct yardstick, hello, oh no, he cannot follow the feeling. So what can he follow in those instances? But only when he is above reason, when he's above his nature. Then he can follow a feeling. Why is there such a demand that the evil must be completely exposed or revealed? What does it mean completely? That is all bad. It's not clear. He also writes that we should learn from the state that he had during the descent. How does a person learn something from what he had? Now he feels a state of ascent, that he has a yearning towards the Creator, a yearning for connection with the friends. What can he learn from the state that when he didn't have the yearning, he didn't have the importance, he didn't have a demand to get closer to the quality of pistol? What does he learn from that? He can learn that the sea is also giving him such states, and he has to be grateful he's giving them those, and when he demands that he will not suffer for no reason in the state of descent. What does it mean not to suffer for no reason? It can be that a person goes through 1,000 death descents and he suffers for no reason. Yes, does it depend on? It depends on a person's awareness or consciousness, but the person's awareness is also a result, isn't it? No, what depends on the person here, so that he doesn't suffer these suffering for no reason. If he thinks that comes from the Creator, has to delve into it until in place of suffering he will feel the good states instead. Last question. Thanks that the order of the work, how to reach adian with the Creator, you asked yesterday or maybe a few days ago. Where are actions 10? They cover everything that we need in order to reach to how do you feel. What do you think is the answer to this question? Asking about me. What you asked that in the lesson, and I wanted to ask, how do you look at it? How do I look at it and look at it to tell us something about it? No, we should make a scrutiny about it. Of course, thank you. Again, a question from Latin. The article speaks about many different states. What do we even define as a state? Are these emotional conditions, awareness or lack of awareness, or maybe corporeal conditions? State is every moment a person can stop himself and ask about it, about That moment, is it coming from above? From below? Why yes, no, this is called a state MCO in the end what belongs to the person, what is at his account in the end what belongs to a person. To try and feel as much as possible what the creator is doing with him, what should he be doing, what kind of a reaction he has. To bring another question from MCO, if the entire process is planned by the creator, does it mean that the descent given to us only so that we will come back and turn to the creator? It's like an alarm clock. I don't know why an alarm clock, but all the descents come from the creator. We would learn, so we would learn from them the states of ascent. What does it mean to guard yourself from the descents? Each time I wish to climb higher and higher in my appreciation of the creator and his actions, Nat, and about the same matter it is written, it follows that the descents, which are the betrayals, are considered transgressions. What is betrayal in spirituality? Betrayal in spirituality means put it's when a person works against the desire of the upper one, well, the creator arranged for him, but he does not accept it to cope with the betrayal, with the fall, when there is no power to pray over time. Whatever the mind doesn't do, time will do. Okay, most of the articles Rash gives us two things. One is the correction of creation, and the second is the purpose of creation. In the two articles yesterday, also today, he didn't say a single word about it explicitly, meaning to explain what is the purpose of creation, which is to do good to his creations, do good to his creations. We reach the state, if I understand correctly, in the state of for the sake of the creator. Everything he describes to us in this article is the process of not for the sake of the creator. So with that we will be able to reach the deep scrutiny of for the sake of the creator and realize that we're mostly working for our own benefit. Yeah, for the time being you can say that. Yes, a question from Australia: how does a person check and can be certain? In the past he did not deviate from the goal, and since then he kept on distance, seeing away, moving away from it. He cannot be. He has to ask the creator to open up for him all those states, so he will know what he did. 10. Help every friend to make sure that he's constantly in the right direction, on the right path, that he did not deviate into some direction, and who knows if he'll ever come back. Society, we learned how the society needs to help to call him, to embrace him, to pull him toward the center of the tent. That's it, to work with him. K. Shom, I spoke to a friend or two friend that got a great awakening. It seems like an ascent to them from the scrutiny we did. I see it a very dangerous state that you really have to pay attention not to receive in order to receive that awakening, because then it distances a person. Eventually, on one hand he got a lot of forces and happiness on the past, but it can, if we don't pay attention, it can distance a person eventually. So the question is, when we get such a feeling of awakening in forces, what should we pay attention on in order for to direct it correctly, that it won't deviate us but put us on the track ahead? Read the Shati articles. I have nothing else to add. Thank you. It's with the upper grace that a repetitiveness, what he explains, that there's a part that someone has doubts that he worked for nothing, then he gets an awakening again and rises a degree, again thinks it's over, and then again the evil comes with greater forces and another descent. So I wanted to ask about those states, that repetitiveness, that cycle. At any change state in the cycle, there's like, you forget the previous state. When the doubts come, you forget that he wasn't an ascent with an awakening. When he has an awakening, he forgets about the descent. What's the reason for this forgetfulness? In order for him to accumulate more and more experience, and when he's persistent about it and again, what does that call him? What does that bring a person to? This brings him each time new disturbance, even though he maybe doesn't feel that way, and he joins all these states to a special. Is there a certain point after a few cycles, because it happens a lot, there a point where he starts feeling, and the forgetfulness disappears. Or does it constantly continue? He needs to try to connect his mind to this. What does that mean? The meaning is to understand why this comes to him, what's demanded of him, what he needs to do. That's actually written in the articles. And this mind, how does that help that the forgetfulness will disappear? It will disappear or become something new. Yes, and in the preparation period, so can we reach a state that we'll already see it as one whole and not like of ascents and descents, but as an order of advancement more or less. Yes, okay, the righteous and the wicked is that towards the intention of a person. Yes. So the sense of and the sense, how do the righteous and the wicked, how they connected to the ups and downs and the feeling of good and bad. How do you connect all this? The wicked and the righteous are according to how much they justify the creature or to the country in a centre. That to it depends on what state they're in. Yes, because it's not clear how a person can ascribe himself to a certain state. How does he know if he's in an ascent or descent according to his feeling, or according to his feeling according to the situation? Yes, according to what in real relation with his to his friends. And then from here, how does he reach a state where he justifies or slanders? What, how does he do it? If you think about this state that you're in all the time, thoughts, intentions, the states themselves towards the creator, towards the friend, towards the world, towards yourself, then you'll start to collect all these impressions correctly together, and then you will see how this happens. Is there something else except for a person's feelings? If he feels good or bad, again the person on the path feels good or bad, is that considered an ascent or descent? Not always, but let's say that. Yes, is there anything except for that? If a person feels good or bad, is there anything except that he may feel bad, but with it he is in a certain joy in appreciating the actions of the creator? So it all depends on what he measures. Yes, okay, good. Yes, it's written that we have to believe that the creator promised Israel to give them the land of Israel full of milk and honey, so he will give it to them for sure. How to rely on that promise? Practically, how should that be expressed? I didn't hear it. Well, Shan, he says the creator promised will give the land of Israel full of milk and honey. How to relate to that? Practically, how should that come be expressed? That promise that they will come to states in which they feel that they're in. That friend is asking, I have so many failures. How to see myself part owing and part deserving, like he writes here, before a person receives upon himself some spiritual action, he needs to depict himself as being half in debt, half in merit, and here he defines it as certainly he wants to move to the side of good, to the side that is in are rewarded in merit. Understood that a person gets a state of an ascent, and then he remembers that he had a descent, and then he needs to do an action of himself called, what I understood from the article in the entrance, to observe that descent. What does it mean to observe a descent? What does that include? Such an action that he had in the descent. Thoughts, desires, goals, forces, connection with the group, connection with the creator. These are the essential main things, the necessary things. So going deep in thought and feeling during the state of descent. Yes, how does he do it? He thinks about it. How does he scrutinize it? How does he go deeper in that? He is in a state of ascent. When he's in a state of ascent, he can think about the state of descent and to understand the extent in which he was not in his true qualities, real qualities. He should go deeper beyond understanding, also into feeling. I'm not sure that that's a given. That's possible, said desire, so it just stays in the thought, or also a feeling of a desire. Thought is enough. How does a person know that he ended the action of observing the state, the descent, for the time being? He thought, let's say, understood something and even attain the benefit he gets. Like all know how to be careful from the sense, I'll know how to appreciate a sense. Yes, so he releases that state and goes onward, and if he doesn't reach those results right about, then it's not too bad, he'll catch it next time. Continue. We say that the expansion of the light and its departure makes the vessel worthy for its role. Yes, so by this we're actually building the vessel. We're asking to build the vessel by this observation on a descent during an ascent. How does that happen? Because it's not according to the drawings and tests where we learn that when the light departs, then all the discernments come when the light is filling. So only by the distance, and here it's like a different technique. Maybe I don't understand it, but the technique here is that during the ascent you have to remember the descent, and from it build the vessel, build some kind of state. That can you do because we are in such states. Why not during the distance they get there? Discernment. How will you receive discernment during a state of disconnection? Distancing. Now I'm in an ain't, now less I try, ask, I can't succeed, I do succeed. You're in such a state in which you dispelling the light from yourself. No, are you in such places? So only during an ascent we can discern the, for the time being let's learn the way, he says, and later we will see more. No. On one hand, Rash emphasizes that we have to calculate during an ascent constantly. Bring these things on the other hand. You answered that everything comes from the Creator, but he said in the article many times that to let the person to give him the privilege to choose. So where is our place of choice when we work in the 10? Walking the path, where is the work in all these discernments? The place for work is at the time of the descent. Specifically, we feel that we must raise ourselves to a higher state, and from it judge our state. Specifically during the descent, specifically during the time of descent. When a person is in a state of an ascent, so he's engaging, he's busy with the friends, not himself. Well, so why should I search for a descent and start worrying about myself on this way and that way? It's a good state, you should keep going. That's correct. So why does he say that we have to search for the sense and search for build a vessel? Cause if I'm like busy with a friends, at some point I'm going to start getting resistance, like you're right. Here we all know that, and then from himself he'll get descent. And that's also correct. Correct, okay. Yes, he says I'll read something in order to choose the good and not the bad. He has to be half worthy, half owing, in order for him to have the choice. But if one thing is more than the other, he can't determine anymore. Also, there's like a point where a person who gets to the scent and devours his flesh, he's not there. If he hasn't a scent and he's flying above the clouds, he's not there either. There's like a point he has to reach, which is half, and there he has a choice. Yes, to choose the good and to not want the bad. So there's constant work to reach that half and half. A person can always keep himself in a state of choice, but that middle, the half and half, there's no good or bad, or there's good and bad. He do feel he comes to a state in which he's holding himself that where yes, half oh and half, that's a point that from it he supposedly is adhere to the Creator. That's what it feels like. That's not so clear. That's clear or more. Okay, what do he said that a state is any time a person can stop himself and ask whether it's from above or below, yes or no. That's called a state. Yes, how to be in constant attention and scrutinize everything that's happening to me. He says the best way is through the group to adhere to the Creator. In that direction you always can critique all your states, and my attention, where should it be to? Where should it be directed to? When I'm scrutinizing a state, as you want to adhere to the friends and to aim adhesion to nearing the Creator. So I should scrutinize what's happening to me during the day, external, internal. What does it mean to scrutinize correctly? What's a good result of our scrutiny? The right scrutiny and the good scrutiny is where you come to identify with the Creator. That one always grows on top of the other of the two types. We're learning it all as if it happens in one person. Can we interpret this also in a different way? If we look at a reality, can we also understand it that one nation grows on top of another? I don't know, I can't give such an interpretation. Okay. What continuing eagle about the half and half state does that mean that you always have to be like outside of yourself in order to not fall into yourself, and if you're always looking from the outside by this, you're somewhat resembling the creator. Yes, as okay. So, is indifference considered a descent? Indifference is called a descent. Yes, even if he's completely indifferent. Of the friends, the lessons, that's a descent. There's that outside of the game. Altogether it's outside of the game, so why not to get excited by the sense? It looks like there's more work there, yes, but to be impressed by the descent, he says, don't include yourself in such state that you feel during a ascent, a state of despair, helplessness, etc. Yes, the lesson is wonderful and I'd like to ask a few questions, something I'm not able to scr. Nis, according to this article, there are a few definitions of the sense being a traitor, that you don't have vessels of bestow, but it says that during, in a sense, we have to search for the state of descent. It's all states from the creator. I can't connect all this. I'd like you to help me. I can't give you one short advice that you'll use right now and advance with it. You need to ask yourself every day that same question. Try and find an answer for it gradually, even over the course of a few weeks. You will already be able to see a clear picture before you key. When a person enters a state of ascent, rises to state of connection with the friends, you said you have to pass this connection to the creator. What does that mean? That he goes back to that previous memory, to the birth he had, how from the state he's in he can scrutinize, after all, doesn't fall into that state. He seemingly examines that state and that's from his current feeling. That's why all of this is just relative. What does it mean that he checks? What is he checking in such a state of int? Whether he's in a descent or an ascent, where he is in relation to the creator. So he supposedly adds vessels into this bequest. Yes, his vessels, and what happens next with those vessels? Then the creator shows him where he is now. How does a person know that he responding to the creator correctly? Again, how can a person measure that he's responding to the creator correctly, that he's developing a right connection with him? The indication that he's responding correctly to the creator, that's considered that the creator and the person are in the same point. What does that mean? The same point of scrutiny, the same point of existence. What's being a traitor in the 10? That's already a completely different question. A betrayal to the 10. We're talking about a person. Yeah, a person that doesn't want to observe the rules of connection between the friends is called a traitor. Turkey S. 2. For when a person feels despair and starts thinking about the time when he just got to the path, how can he understand that now his vessel is full of deficiencies? Again, I'll ask again. Now he feels despair, but when he got to the path he was full of happiness. Now he feels that all his work is worthless. There's no feeling. How can you scrutinize a state with all those deficiencies? The best thing is prayer to the creator, where all the friends start to address the creator and to ask him to illuminate through them. I'm asking the creator to shine through me, not just mine, but all the friends of us. All. What can we do? We're not worthy of anything. Only thanks to the creator we can see where we are and how to advance our unity. Sorry for the question, but there's a few times in the article that there's where expression land of milk and honey, I understand it has a spiritual meaning. What does it mean spiritually? The land of milk and honey is where it's the foundation that we're standing on, has both in the connection between us and that we have no problems with this whatsoever. Every woman must go. No. Summary of the lesson be that my task is to scrutinize myself and see where my feelings are directed towards bestow or myself. We need to be aimed only to the creator through my friends. My participation in this lesson is it to reach scrutiny of my state. Yes, good morning. Love from what I understood that descent is a state of advancement, but at the same time I feel that the ego is succeeding and I feel complete distance. What can I do, or what can the T do in order to help a friend during a descent? Thank you. Hug him and start rising together with him. That's the help for a friend during a descent. Okay, can N? Yes, thank you. Okay. Does effort belong to man, or it's like the prayer that we know the Creator causes? The prayer brings you to the prayer. God forbid, I'm not talking about multiple authority. The Creator thank you. PT 17, when he remembers the descent, so he's actually valuing the descent as an advantage as he writes can increase his ascent. So, and the second condition is that he'll know how to protect himself, that he don't reach the descent. So what is that condition? Well, because the magnitude of the ascent is the same, then the descent is the same, yes, but there's the descent and there's the recognition of the descent. There's a big difference. I may remain in my state, in my place, but with that I feel how lowly I was. It's only the matter of knowing what gives me a descent. Yes, of course. That's it. Saves a lot of time and forces and a lot in corporal deeds. There's a principle. He did something a few times and it becomes okay. So sometimes I didn't turn on my camera when there was a meeting or so. How does the T work in such states? Come in, you have to make sure that whoever didn't come out, he will come there. It's very important. Whoever is late, it's not just responsible to himself, actually, but also to all the other friends that simply forgot of him and left him and didn't bring him or didn't drag him with them. Okay, thank you. There's an ascent through overcoming and an ascent from a dispute and implementing the choice. What's the difference between the two? There's even more than two. Everything depends on the extent in which we during this want to rise towards the Creator and delight him in our work. And when I remember the descent I had, can we rise another degree on account of the previous one? No. Latin woman, Latin. What's the work we must do exactly towards the sense, and what towards the sense? So to be for true advancement, most important is connection. And for the connection, when we want to rise from degree to degree on the ladder of degrees, woman, tab 1. Cabby, thank you, Rob, by scrutinizing how close or distant we are from the Creator. During ascend and descend, are we getting ourselves accustomed to measuring our ability to bestow to the created and spirituality? I position Gin gum, that's 2. Yes, that's to Turkey. S Turkey 7, woman, Turkey S, women, Turkey S. For hell, friends, I heard a person should keep himself in the point of choice. How does that help us experience the sense and the sense point? How does being in the point of choice, how this being in the point of choice help us experience a sense and the sense? We need to come to the point of choice and from it to see how we approach the Creator and choose only this. We try to connect the direction of the road, this vector, the point of choice, so that both of them are together, and in this way we advance. I cause 1. What characterizes a descent is growing corporeal desires is what characterizes a descent, or an ascent is what characterizes a descent. Growing corporeal desires again. Relatively a must. Please, MOS man. Must. Article close softly and precisely on all the work and all the sensations we experience while working with the light. A blind kitten trying to reach his food. At some point the eyes open and he sees what path he went through, that he's going correctly. That's the experience. I'm getting the impression suddenly there's a meaning of 1,000 go on the path and one reaches the light. Is that right? That our work that we implemented as much as possible, all our efforts? No. And there's another question that a friend wants to ask. Yesterday we had a workshop. We read this article and one of the friends remembered that you told us once that there's times of ascent, times of descent, and there's also a time of like routine, a constant time that belongs to the middle. line should we see this, that we have to reach that constant line above. States no, that's incorrect, this is incorrect. There's no midline here, there only a sense or descents. Here this is how we should determine our situation. Can we see like an order of actions that when a person understands that he has the evil inclination at it comes from the Creator, and thanks to the correction of the evil inclination in him he is rewarded with the quality of the bestow towards the Creator, and by this he gives the Creator contentment, and for that the Creator rewards you with mercy and a blessing. Women. PT 33. Thank you. What are we lacking? That the base we're standing on will also have the light of mercy, and the light of that will resemble the Creator internal, and not only external. We are working with all of our vessels from the perspective of, and we raise them together to the Creator in order to raise him, extol him even more. This is what we need to do. Latin 1 when we check the sense there's a fear not to fulfill the body's needs, because it won't let us advance towards vessels of be still. So how will we overcome that dumb old king? He's asking how to overcome that old king, how to defeat this foolish old king. It's by constantly wanting to be younger and younger. He's old and foolish, so we want to be young and strong. What does it mean to be young and strong? In the past it means we constantly check ourselves, find the goal, and we're not afraid to go toward it. Last 1 Women Mac 62. It's written in the article that there's a state of the wicked that don't walk the path to do everything for the sake of the heavens, but do everything for themselves, and it's a different quality where there's no righteous on the middle, but it's off for their own benefit, but for the collective keeping the two and commandments. They are righteous. So help me understand that we need to try to observe the laws of that bring us to connection, because this is the primary commandment. Love your friend as yourself. This is what we need to observe. This is what we need to yearn for. This is the condition we need to scrutinize and carry out in our life. Okay friends, we're moving on to the next stage. The introduction to the book of said. Oh, we'll see, we only have half an hour. So the preface to the book la I la air a for la. We're reading in the writings of the forward to the book of Zohar. We are in item 6 forward to the book of Zohar and the writings of Basim. Item. You already know that there are called and their root called, because they contains 6 called. Remember this in all the places where we are used to saying which are in general. They comprise all 4 worlds. Abia since 1 the world of is, the 2 the world is the world of is the world in greater detail. Not only does each and every world have 10, but even the smallest element in each world has as well, as it is written in the introduction to the book of Zohar in item 44, 51 and 61. Compared these to 4 colors. These are 1 for green, for the 4 black for. It is similar to a mirror that has 4 panes painted in the 4 above colors, although the light in it is 1. It is colored when traversing the panes and turns into 4 kinds of light: 1 white light, 2 red light, green light, and 4 black light. Also the light in all of these simple godliness and unity from the top of to the bottom of the division into 10 is because of the vessels called. Each vessel is like a fine partition through which the godly light traverses toward the receivers. This reason it is considered that each vessel paints the light a different color. Feel of in the world of transports white light, meaning colorless, as the vessel of aught is like the light itself. self, and the light of the Creator does not undergo any change while traversing it. This is the meaning of what is written in the Z about the world, of he his life, and his self are one, hence the light of is considered white light. When it traverses the vessels of the world's bri, and the light changes and dims as it travels through them to the receivers. For example, the red light symbolizes Bina, which is bri, the green light like the sunlight is for earth, which is the world of, and the black light is for the, which is the world of. Questions none so keep going. Does it mean that the vessel in the world of a passes it without colour? He says it's like the light itself, yet there's nothing a colour the lights with. Still so, it is a vessel that is not in itself. In infinity there's some coest there. What does he say? White, red, green and black, right? Those are the lights. So what do you have in the light? The white. Why does he say the vessel of is like the light itself, and there's no changes in the light? Doesn't make any difference in the light. It doesn't coloured in any way. Why is it regarded as the world of? Why isn't the world of from end to the end of? The world of it begins only below the T. The world of starts below the T. It's there because that's where the vessels start formulating. So what does it mean that if the vessels begin there, then the world of the vessel doesn't make a change in the light, because it's so pure that it doesn't make any changes in the light. So it's the same as it is above the table, and sense that above the table there are no colours. No, that's what he explains. Yes, it is written that colour is according to the light that passes through it. Yet no, that when we look in the eyes, it's what the light is reflected, not what it takes through it. What it swallows we don't see. Yes, so why in spirituality is what passes through it. That's how it colours it. A light that goes to a certain world, it gets the impression from what it went through. According to that we say something about the state the light went through. So the colour is from the reflected light, or from what went through and was received in the vessel is the light. When the light goes through some kind of, so it receives the colour of that. So what was already received in its taste in this in the. Yes, thank you. If there's an object in the world of a, for example, receives light, we know that it always receives intense, of course, always 10, no more, no less. So in the world of, how can you discern like what's the difference between this when it's in such a dark place? Because also that dark place also has a vessel, and the vessel also is divided into 10 other vessels, but the discernment between these vessels should take colours as if seemingly like in all of the entire. So although they are in a place where the light hardly reaches its dark, you can still make discernments in the colours. Yet the discernments we have it every day in science and anything. When we come closer we get into it, we start researching, and we see that there we have the same laws. Okay, yeah. World means concealment on the light if it doesn't make changes in the light. And what's the concealment? There's no concealment. So what's the difference between that and culture, or even higher if there's no concealment there? Is what does it mean are the same? I don't know, but that's what he writes. Okay, yeah, in the world of there is no screen, no shattering, no nothing. Go. Oh, does it mean when a person attains the TPH for the first time? Person attains, it means he goes through all their qualities impressed in him. He identifies with them. He resembles those qualities. In that way he goes into the world of how are they imprinted in him. How does he shift from quality to quality? From to every quality is revealed towards a certain world. In that way the world goes through this quality. It's as if it's coloured by it, and continues. Person, cyst, friend in a 10 wants to discover the 10 field. He feels connection with his friends. What does it mean that in this connection the trans F awaken each qualities reset is revealed in this feeling? Person feels himself as made of those qualities, and in each one of them he wants to feel the Creator. In that way he discovers them inside himself. Hello dear RAV, hello world CLE. RAV in order to discern the other. Worlds bare do we have to annul ourselves. And all our forces. Can yes. Yes, thank you. That's it, keep going. Item in addition to the above, there is a very important intimation in this allegory of the four colours. The Arites are called a book as it is written in the book of creation. One, he created his world in 3 books, a book, an author, and a story. It is also written the sky will be rolled up like a book. The disclosure of the wisdom in each book is not in the white in it, but only in the colours, meaning in the ink from which the letters in the book and the combinations of wisdom come to the reader. On the whole, there are 3 kinds of ink in the book: green and black. Correspondingly, the world of which is all godliness, and is like the white in the book. This means that we have no perception in it whatsoever, but the whole disclosure in the book of heaven is in the which are the 3 worlds as they are considered. The ink in the book of heaven, the letters and their combinations appear in the 3 above mentioned kinds of ink, and it is only through them that the godly light appears to the receivers at that time. We must note that the white in the book is the primary subject of the book, and the letters are all carried on the white in the book, and had it not been for the white, the existence of the letters and all the manifestations offer in them would not be possible whatsoever. Similarly, the world of which is a primary subject of the manifestation which appears through the world. This is the meaning of the verse. In wisdom you have made them all. Again, it's okay, right? What we say that letters are vessels, meaning doesn't have any vessels, no letters, they are still incomplete. Let's say the hess in them doesn't stand out yet, give it to. Or what is the book of heaven are the T which is all the worlds, and through all of that the upper light comes to the receivers. He talked about book, author, and story. What is the story? We'll see. It's 3 degrees that through them we discover the Creator's actions towards us. What is written in the book of heaven? All the laws of nature, all the laws. Next item. We said above in the 3rd boundary that the Zohar does not speak of the world of what in and of itself, since it is regarded as the white in the book, but according to its illumination in the 3 worlds. Since they are like the ink, the letters and their combinations in the book, it is so in 2 manners. 1, either the 3 worlds be receive the illumination of the world of in their own place, at which time the light is greatly reduced as it passes through them, through their passer below the world of aught, until it is discerned as mere illumination of the vessels. 2, or through the ascent of the worlds be above be to the place of when they clothe the world of aught, meaning receive the light in the place where it illuminates, as it is written in the preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah from item 155 onward. Okay. No. What he tells us 2 things here: that they rise either to salute or in their place in terms of the work of the lower ones. What's the difference between these 2 operations? The difference that they either ascend to the world of aught or remain in their place, but the influence that can be in the lower ones can't be in aught, they have to come down. Now the lights come from and that determines the vessels that are received below in the lower ones. Can they already use them? Yes, of course. What's required of us in order to create this connection, to receive the nature of those worlds that we need to rise upon? But how do we awaken a request? How do we awaken hell? As that's not in the wisdom of Ab, that belongs to a man's work. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, concerning the Zohar, speaking only of the world beyond and the connection of to them in the study of the they taught about everything and only about this art, because in the study of the starts from the 4 phases down to so is it different what the Zohar and the study the describe. Yes, of course. Zohar tells us about the worlds of B and A, bit on how they influence the world of and what comes before that, all that is not mentioned in the Z, almost none, only his upper roots can. Okay. Want to understand this item we just talked about. We rise to the world of on the background is white, and in this ending to the worlds beyond the background changes according to the world it is. In wherever you are, that's how you can absorb that background, so the background may change according to where you are, yes, and besides the letters which are according to the worlds. Yes, okay, thank you. So basically the ascent of the worlds is changing the material, or is it something else? How does it change the perception there in the ascent worlds? We didn't talk about it yet. Where you see it written here. Wait, next. It yet the allegory and the lesson are not quite comparable, because in the Book of Wisdom, in this world both the white and the ink in its letters are lifeless. The disclosure of the wisdom induced by them is not in their essence itself, but outside of them in the mind of the scrutinizer. However, in the four worlds, AB, which are the Book of Heaven, all the more in the spiritual and corporeal realities are present in them and extend from them. Thus you should know that the white in it, which is the carrier in the book, is the learned subject matter itself, while the three colours of the ink elucidate this subject. Okay, is that clear? Yet read it again. It the allegory and the lesson are not quite comparable, because in the Book of Wisdom, in this world both the white and the ink in its letters are lifeless. Closure of the wisdom induced by them is not in their essence itself, outside of them in the mind of the scrutinizer. However, in the four worlds, AB, which are the Book of Heaven, all the in the spiritual and corporeal realities are present in them and extend from them. You should know that the white in it, which is the carrier in the book, is the learned subject matter itself, while the three colours of the ink elucidate this subject. Questions and can, meaning there is no content that we take from what is written, but the letters themselves of the in the book. This is the content and not what is written. You want to ask what I'm learning from the letters, from the form of the letters, from the colour of their letters. What am I learning from, or from the white of their book? You can't grasp the white. The white is that's what you can't get. Okay, well, let's end here. Next, we're starting a new place broadcast today, Monday at 12 new. The noon lesson at 5:30 reading the Son of the 10, and at 730 reading the Z. Will end with the So. Around the world our area of light is calling people to unite, igniting all the points inside. Endless love will be our guide above the place and beyond time. A new humanity will shine above the place and beyond time. A new humanity will shine around the world hour of light. He's calling people to unite, igniting all the points inside. Endless love will be our God above the place and beyond time. A new humanity will shine above the place and beyond time. A new human sh around the world array of light is calling people to unite, igniting all the points inside. End this love will be our guide of all place and beyond. A new humanity will shine above the place and beyond time. A new humanity will shine